Could you please tell me about the role the West was playing here in Ukraine in terms of NGOs and grants that was given to so-called opposition?
Yeah, I'm sure that EU and the US they played a very critical role on this situation that had been proceeding in Ukraine, because they were really active on Ukrainian battlefield. I call it battlefield because it was a real place where different interests were coming, and they had a very wide network of NGO, and they were giving some grants to Ukrainian organizations and different people. These people were not so strict on these positions, but in a critical time they should be like direct agents of West.
So they were manipulated.
They should provide some political line. They should be very loyal to all of the initiatives that West had give, and they cannot be critical toward West in any case. You see, now they are pushing us to these austerity measures, to budget cuts, to proceeding so-called medical care reform, which means that we should close half of our hospitals, that we should cut our doctors, and we should fire half of our doctors. And they cannot be critical to it. They would say that it is very important for our economy, that this austerity measures is the only way we can do with Ukrainian economy. So this role of West was really important. It was key role here in these events on the last 3 months. And of course, West was very tolerant to neo-Nazis. They did not criticize neo-Nazis until yesterday day, when neo-Nazi gangs tried to storm parliament. And that day they said, yes, we have some problem with neo-Nazi gangs. We have some groups which call right sector. It's not very good. We condemn this attempts of violence, and it's not very good. But where have you been for 3 months? We described this situation to European members of parliaments, to members of European Parliament. We explained that it's not democratic process, it's not people's movement, because here in Ukraine we have very contradictory society. We have many different interests and many different social groups, and not all of them were supporting Maidan. But they say, no, this is peaceful democratic liberation movement, and we don't see any neo-Nazi groups on Maidan. So that was role of the West.
But the West was actually supporting the right wing, so we cannot expect that they didn't know that among the right wing of Ukraine were also neo-Nazis.
Yeah, sure. You see, it's very strange situation because in Europe, in Eastern Europe especially, we have so-called new right movements. You see, they are talking much about problems of poor people. They talk much about social problems. We call it far-right populism. For example, in Europe, they are not anti-Semitic more. They said that it is everything okay with Israel. Now we have other enemy, it's Islam. So they try to be to have this new role. And in Ukraine, it was the same role, because far-right Ukrainian movements, they are not supporting European integration. But during Maidan they said, okay, we will forget about our ideology and we will be inside this movement. And of course these far-right guys, they played very critical role in all of these events. They were storming administrative buildings, they were storming police, and it was really dangerous. And now they are armed, they have machine guns, and they are patrolling our streets. It is impossible to believe something like this in West Europe. So West Europe is proposing something that is not acceptable in United Kingdom or France or Germany. It is impossible to believe that some far-right guys from NDP will patrol Berlin streets, or armed guys from National Front will patrol Paris and will try to arrange so-called order there. So West is proposing something that they cannot accept.
But something exactly the same was happening until recently in Bangkok, on the streets of Bangkok. The far right, which was imported mainly from the south and supported by local elites, was closing the streets. They were living on the streets in the same tents like on and around Maidan. They were deciding who can go where. They were armed. They were even attacking police. So we had the same situation in Bangkok right before Kiev. Are people in Ukraine aware that this is actually becoming a worldwide phenomenon, which is supported by the West?
Yeah, I'm not sure that people here really realize what is going on, that they are totally understand that it is big worldwide movement of imperialism. But I am sure that these people who were on the street on Kiev, who were supporting Maidan, they were supporting Venezuelan opposition movement at the same time. So they understand very exactly that they are part of some worldwide movement that should fight with left-wing governments. Unfortunately, here in Ukraine we had not left-wing government, we have oligarchy and corrupted government. So this government was really weak, and in the critical phase, when they should have some support of people, of masses, of working class, they had this support, because nobody tried to protect Mr. Yanukovych, and this space began empty. And this is big tragedy of southeast of Ukraine, because southeast don't have any political leaders anymore. And now this is white people movement against imperialism, and it is trying to find our identity, our ideology, our new leaders, our new political movements. And we are working hard here and south and east of Ukraine to make this combat against imperialism. And as you can see, people on southeast, they realize very exactly that it is some kind of invasion from Western Europe and from the US, and we should organize some resistance to this invasion. And it will be really difficult to arrange, because they have mass media, they have NGOs in their hand, they have far-right gangs that are armed and they are attacking our meetings, and it is really dangerous now to be in the opposition to this new government. You see, my mother called me and she said, be careful, because this new power will give not you possibility to feel free and to talk whatever you want. Forget about these times. And unfortunately, Mr. Yanukovych was corrupted, and it was really bad ruling, without any decision, without any kind of decision of social problems. But this new government, they are worse. They want to take all the social guarantees. They want to take out all of the democratic rights, because you cannot feel free right now in the country. You cannot talk whatever you think. and this is great problem. Yeah, all of the Russian channels are banned, and we cannot see Russian TV anymore. But the problem is that, of course, we have Russian propaganda, and some people here are very critical to it. But if you will see Ukrainian TV channels, you will say the mirror, because we have Russian propaganda and this Ukrainian propaganda, which is not anymore news or informational programs. It's strong propaganda against people of Southeast, and they try to show that this movement in Southeast is organized by Russia. But of course it's not true, because people here they have another opinion on what is going on in Kiev and other cities, and people here don't want any kind of a caption of this junta. We call it junta because we don't recognize this Kiev government, because their power is a result of coup, and it was armed coup supported by neo-Nazi gangs. And now they are trying to arrange so-called elections, presidential elections, on May 25, and I think that we will not recognize results of these elections, because it is impossible to have democratic elections with neo-Nazi gangs patrolling your streets.
Of course, there is no referendum which is being proposed to decide whether this coup should be legitimized or not.
Yeah, sure, and right now we are demanding referendum about wide autonomy inside Ukraine, because we want our rights to be recognized. We want to have our budget, we want to have our municipal militia, we want to have protection from what is going on in Kiev and other regions, because nobody can feel safe right now here, even on the east. You know that our political movement, Union of Struggle, Borotba, was very active in Kiev. We had many demonstrations and meetings and everything, but we cannot arrange any meeting anymore. Only here on the east we can have our public activity, and now we are fighting for our possibility to be on the street, to talk, to have freedom of association, to have freedom of press. So now we are fighting even not for the socialist agenda, now we are fighting for democratic agenda. It is very strange when we are in the situation when West is supporting this coup in Kiev, and east of the country is fighting for the democratic rights that could not be protected during this new regime.